Peter, the late great voice of the Vols, John Ward, loved to say it's football time in Tennessee. Well, now it's time for new head coach Jeremy Pruitt to make his home debut in Knoxville. And speaking of firsts, it's the first time East Tennessee State has ever played in Neyland Stadium. ETSU and Tennessee here on Rocky Talk today with Chris Button and Matt Stinchcomb. I'm Taylor Zarzer. Stinch, the bright spot last week was the running game and that loss to West Virginia. Tim Jordan went well over 100 yards.
You know, coming into this season, Jeremy Pruitt wanted to establish an identity offensively, and that is born of a physical run game. Now, you're going to hear that from a lot of programs, but obviously you got to have somebody that will physically finish runs, that has vision to find the holes that look like creases, and that are capable of carrying the football down in and down out. Tim Jordan, coming into that game, not many people were looking to expect that type of performance. 118 of the ultimate 129 rushing yards in the opener. Tim Jordan is a bright spot that this offense can build on and around for the balance of the season.
Tennessee won the toss, and they will defer as ETSU plays the Vols for the first time ever, making the trip over from Johnson City. And the kick is fielded by Robinson at the goal line. And he won't get to the 20-yard line. Let's say good afternoon to Chris Button.
Well, Jeremy Pruitt wants to get Tennessee back to the greatness they experienced 2 decades ago when they won the national championship back in 1998. He knows it's going to take a while. It takes a change of mentality. But as he sees it, to be great, you also have to look great. So they're going back to the same uniforms they used back in 1998. You'll only see 2 different styles, the orange and white. That smoky gray is gone. The checkerboard, the stripe down the pants, they're also going back to the black cleats. So while all these other programs are going to the 6 uniforms, really cool, Jeremy Pruitt's going old school.
Meanwhile, Logan Marshy hands to Quay Holmes, and Holmes has no place to go as Daniel Batuli and Alexis Johnson say good afternoon to him. Second down.
Well, Batuli really active at his linebacker spot, and obviously Alexis Johnson is a guy that they're expecting to really come around as well. Powerful, but a guy that they need to see some more consistency from. See Batuli in there for a snap and goes right back to the sideline, but a defense that's learning to assert itself.
Pickup of 2. Marshy in shotgun. Design keeper. Bad call as it loses almost 5. Darren Kirkland in the backfield. Logan Marshy, a transfer from Temple, played last week in the victory over Mars Hill. He threw for over 1,600 yards and 9 touchdowns for the Owls last season.
And a guy that has taken over for Austin Herrick, who was the veteran returner, a guy that has started at quarterback and put up some numbers ever since ETSU returned to the football field.
It's a loss of 4 with Kirkland healthy back in the lineup. A good game last week. 3rd and 12. This is a bubble to Harrison, and it gets out near the 25-yard line. It's 3 and out. Is Alante Taylor, the true freshman, one of the guys to make the tackle. You see Micah Abernathy a bit banged up.
Abernathy did a great job fighting off that downfield tackle, playing off of his legs, and is able to get up and get the receiver down on the ground. Abernathy, you need to make sure that he is healthy. He contributes in all kinds of facets, not only defensively up in the box at the safety position, but also in special teams.
Marquez Callaway waiting on this punt from Marion Watson. Callaway took one to the house against Tennessee Tech 2 years ago. This is a wobbler that'll take a ETSU bounce, and it's down near the 33-yard line. That's a 43-yard punt. Well, Jared Garantano, the redshirt sophomore from New Jersey, completed 62% of his passes last year, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was banged up last week, Stinch, by that West Virginia defense.
He was knocked all over the place. And after a season ago where he took tons of shots, you could tell, I think it impacted his performance, especially early on. Very first play of the game versus West Virginia with defenders right in his face.
Often will give it to Jordan today. First play to Tim to the left side. He tries to bounce it outside, and he'll pick up a couple. Tim Jordan broke 12 tackles last week in that victory that you were that you were describing to West Virginia. Jeremy Pruitt said, though, there's still room for improvement for his sophomore tailback.
Well, you know, in the opener, Tim Jordan was having to create his own hole. Not only was he able to find vision when there was hole, but also shake loose of would-be tacklers.
Pushed up 3 on first down. Fake to him this time, and it's batted down at the line of scrimmage. Getting a hand on it was Blake Bockrath.
Bockrath's a guy that they like a lot. There's a great awareness here, elevating and getting his hands up to disrupt this pass. They're trying to get it to Callaway on a quick pass, high percentage play. Nice breakup by Bockrath.
See the Vols' numbers on third down last week. They started 3 for 4 in the first half, but weren't able to carry that good success throughout the game. Plenty of time for JG, as they call him. That's a first down strike to Callaway up near the 45-yard line.
Nice protection and a good-looking route from Marquez Callaway. This is a guy that they want to get going. You look at this team offensively a week ago, the Volunteers, they did a pretty nice job of pressing the football downfield. Had some difficulty diagnosing the lateral or horizontal passing game. But Garantano threw some strikes downfield. That was a nice conversion there to Callaway.
He liked watching his arm in film last week. The vertical passing game. Fake to Madri London. Plenty of time for Garantano, and he's got a wide open receiver inside the 10, tackled at the 5. That's Josh Palmer.
Eight-man protection, guaranteeing a quarterback time to throw. Look at Palmer on an out and up, and you're talking about 10 yards of separation before a defender's able to close. Working against one of the fastest defensive backs on the Buccaneers defense in DeLentz.
51-yard throw from Garantano to Palmer. Now Jordan trapped in the backfield. He'll lose a few. That is Nasir Player, who you loved watching in warm-ups.
He's just a big, long body. Does a great job of getting upfield. Look how physical at the point of attack. And that's going to be some ugly film offensively, but Player is a guy that does a great job of getting penetration and upfield. Long, linear guy. And this was reminiscent of how they opened up. A lot of backfield, a lot of loose hats. Even in this drive, not always assigned. That time, just got beaten physically.
Loss of 3. The toss to Jordan. He's got no place to go again. This is an even bigger loss. Back to the 14-yard line. It's Jared Folks.
The upfield movement by the Buccaneer defense. You're not able to capture the edge. There's 4 defenders. They do a great job of turning Jordan back inside. He wasn't going to get outside. He's looking to cut it up. And he's met by a host of Buccaneers. And you don't want this type of red zone difficulty. Nice, he hit a big play. You got the rhythm. Great job by ETSU, bowing their necks.
3rd and goal from the 14. Garantano again timed, but overthrows his intended receiver, Dominic Wood Anderson, as a flag comes in.
Offside, defense number 99, 5-yard penalty, repeat 3rd down.
Big penalty, obviously. You get that down back. That's Bockrath, who did a great job of breaking up a pass earlier. But that time, Garantano, too much on it. Trying to hit Dominic Wood Anderson, a guy that this coaching staff is really high on, JUCO transfer. Caught the touchdown pass, the first one last week versus West Virginia. Couldn't corral that one. Lucky break to get another down.
3 receivers to the top. Free rush at Garantano. He tries to elude it, throws it away. Intended for Dominic Wood Anderson. Player almost brought him down before Garantano could throw that ball away. It's 4th down. You know, Stinch, going back to the ground game, 16 times last week, Tennessee had a play that went for 0 yards or for negative yardage running the football, already 2 on that drive.
That's why it's so difficult not only to sustain drives, which Tennessee was able to do at least one time, but was the undoing on this opening possession here.
26-yard attempt for Brent Samaglia, and he knocks it through, and the Vols are on the board in large part due to the big throw to Josh Palmer. All right, Dari, good to have you in this afternoon. Look forward to your halftime report. Debo still finding new ways to score touchdowns.
You think that guy garnered a little attention from the Georgia defense right there? That's an easy way to get someone running free. It's not like Brian Edwards isn't any good. But when Debo Samuel's got the ball in his hands, you better be paying attention. And that time it worked perfectly. Nice play call by the Gamecocks.
Meanwhile, the Vols use a 51-yard throw from Jared Garantano to Josh Palmer to set up a Brent Samaglia field goal. This is Paxton Brooks kicking off for UT. Quay Holmes stands there and will let it go over his head, and they'll start at the 25-yard line. Chris Button standing by with a special guest.
Coach Fulmer, Al is the athletic director, as someone who used to be so heavily involved in game day. What's it like to watch it from your position now?
It's a little bit hard, to be honest with you, but I've got great confidence in our coaches. We're off to a decent start. I would have certainly liked to have got a touchdown there. But
you helped rebuild and restart this ETSU program a couple years ago. What's the hardest part you learned in trying to restart a program all over again?
Well, the vision and the passion came from Dr. Nolan, the president, and he gave great leadership. The hardest part was getting community buy-in, which honestly there happened really fast. And if you've ever been to their campus and seen that beautiful stadium and the excitement that's around ETSU football, it's pretty special.
It's not a restart, but it is a rebuild here at Tennessee. Jeremy Pruitt talking about wanting to get to the greatness of the days that you were here. How have you seen him impose that mentality on his players?
Well, he's been around a lot of great programs, so he knows what he's looking for and how to do it. Recruiting's the base of it, obviously, but taking this group of kids, and I've been really impressed with him, how he's pushed them, but also hugged their neck when they needed it, and they have a nice bond. We just got to keep getting better every week.
Well, I appreciate the time. Go enjoy the view from the box and the air conditioning.
You betcha. Thank you.
Guys.
Brand new athletic director, won a national championship here 20 years ago as Logan Marshy finds Keith Coffey. It'll be third down for the ETSU Bucks, as Coach Fulmer said. He recommended Randy Sanders for the job the first time around when they hired Carl Torbush. Now Coach Sanders, who was his offensive coordinator at UT 20 years ago in that national championship game, played for the Tennessee Volunteers. Imagine his emotions today, Matt Stinchcomb coming back in here as a head coach.
Totally different, it has to be. He's been in here as an assistant coach, as a coordinator, but never on the opposing sideline of his own program.
Third down, Marshy's got time, but he overthrows his intended target. That was Kobe Kelly. It's fourth down. All set up on that first down pass rush by Jonathan Conbo, setting up second and long, and then ultimately another 3-and-out.
Well, this is where Tennessee is really looking to evolve, because they're not going to have a ton of depth up front. Can they get the production from the guys that now are on the field for them full time? Jonathan Conbo, a guy who's bounced around from a position standpoint. He's been inside, he's been outside, he's been disgruntled. Can you get some production out of him off the edge? Guys like Shy Tuttle on the inside to affect that opposing team's passing.
First punt for Watson was 43 yards. Just another one off the side of his foot that Callaway will field and not call for a fair catch. He takes a big hit at the 39-yard line by Zach Yancey. Tennessee back on the field after points on the board the first time. Can they put 6 up as it's Rocky Top's debut in Knoxville?
SEC Network Football is brought to you by Chick-fil-A Nuggets. Tonight is Nugget Night.
The world-famous rock right here on Rocky Top. Amazing some of the paint jobs they have done to this thing through the years, and I think this one might take the cake. That's impressive. PM Mills says over there on the side. I don't know what's most impressive about that, Stinch.
Why is Smokey the biggest of those three?
Is Smokey
Dogs up front.
sending a message. Smokey's the most powerful here
Never lost a game, has
in
he?
Knoxville.
As undefeated.
Jared Garantano, after a nice first drive, it yielded 3 points. Under center at the 38-yard line. Hands to his big back, Tim Jordan, who muscles his way past the 41 near the 42-yard line. Jordan shared some carries with Ty Chandler at the beginning of the game last week. Chandler was a bit dinged up, suffered a concussion, but did practice this week. Coach Pruitt is a little concerned, though, about getting Chandler some reps. So we might see Chandler as the third or the fourth string tailback today. And a motion penalty on the Vols.
Austin Pope a little bit early. Like he hitched.
Current snap, false start, offense 81, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
You know what, when you see a receiver jump like that on the perimeter, it's because he's probably getting the ball. You know, he's somewhere in that progression where, you know, second down, if you're running the football, receivers aren't antsy to go run down the field and block. They want to get loose and get open. Getting a strong talking to. Nice coaching opportunity there on the sideline from Coach Pruitt.
Pruitt's not scared to get after his players. And his players have said they're good with it. In fact, many of them have referenced that if you want it easy, Coach Pruitt isn't for you. 2nd and 11. Again, Jordan back near the original line of scrimmage. Blake Backrath on the tackle, 3rd down.
And we got to keep in mind, too, this is somewhat of a re-envisioned offensive front. Ryan Johnson played 3 different positions down the stretch for the Vols last year. Started this season at right guard, had to slide into center when they lost starting center Brandon Kennedy to an ACL tear this week in practice. Kind of a fluky injury. This is an offensive line unit that only got about 10 practices together in preseason camp. That's rarely enough, especially when you got new faces and a new system.
3rd and 7, bad snap. Garantano takes it, throws a strike across the middle. That's Jordan Murphy into ETSU territory for a first down, 11 yards.
Yeah, a little bit of a high and outside snap. Garantano did a good job of fielding it cleanly and then getting the ball in his hands, loaded and releasing on time. I think that won't show up in the stat sheet as a great play. That was a really good job by Garantano of taking advantage of a positive yardage play and an opportunity.
Hated for Kennedy, hurting his knee in practice earlier this week as Jordan goes straight ahead, but it has yielded an opportunity for Ryan Johnson, Chris.
It is, and he's not just about football, he's about the academics too. He'll graduate in 2.5 years with a civil engineering degree. So what exactly is his course schedule like this fall along with football? Oh, Water Resource Engineering Lab, Structural Behavior Measurement, Structural Engineering 2, Senior Design 2, and Review of Engineering Fundamentals. Sounds like Stinches from back in the day.
I was going to say, it is definitely not the Zarzer class load. The 2nd and 6, Madri London, the Michigan State transfer, gets past the 45 for a couple.
He's met by Dylan Weigel, a guy that is the leading tackler, returning tackler anyway, in the SoCon Conference, and right now a guy who is incredibly active. As you see him head over to the sideline, in the history of ETSU, nobody spent more time with ball carriers on the ground than number 40.
19 against the Citadel last year.
It's a busy day, man. You've earned yourself a new helmet almost after 19 tackles.
Tano's made some good 3rd down throws, just like he did in the first half last week. Does he make another here? It is a good one, but it's short of the marker to Callaway, 4th down.
Pressure in his face again. And the protection just started to leak. If you rewind back to the big shot that he hit downfield to Josh Palmer, 8-man protection, nice and secure, a pocket you could step into. Garantano that time having to back off and throw, trying to hit Callaway on the shallow cross. Not the yardage needed. And you can rewind all the way back to the false start by Austin Pope. You're trying to get a drive going, negative yardage play. You had 2nd in the playbook. You could do whatever you want right there, and you ended up backed up.
Joe Doyle, the redshirt freshman from here in Knoxville, made his debut last week. And and this one bounces at the 1 into the end zone. 19 Knoxvillians are playing in this game today. Head coach of the ETSU Bucks, Randy Sanders, 22 straight years in Knoxville as a player, position coach, and offensive coordinator. There he is, limited action on the field as a player, but then part of the national championship staff that won in 1998. Tennessee offensive coordinator and quarterback coach through those years. Then he went on to Kentucky, won another national championship as the offensive coordinator at FSU. Made his debut last week as the head coach, beating Mars Hill 28-7. Now playing his alma mater here in front of nearly 100,000 as Keith Coffey takes the sweep around the left side.
It's pretty remarkable, the parallels, when you think about these two head coaches. You know, Randy Sanders has been around this program a long time, a guy that got to coach at the school at which he played. Not dissimilar from Jeremy Pruitt. Played at Alabama, was a quarterback in high school, started his career at Middle Tennessee, transferred down to Alabama, got a chance to coach there, and then they both end up at FSU just in time to win a national title. They get to match up here today.
2nd and 7 to Holmes, and he'll approach the 25-yard line. In fact, Jeremy Pruitt said to us that he really credits Randy Sanders for helping him become a coordinator. His first time as a coordinator in Tallahassee, and he said, you know, I'm not going to go to the head coach, Jimbo Fisher, and ask him how to call the game. He may not think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to Randy Sanders, the offensive coordinator, and he said his support was something he was so appreciative of.
Yeah, it is interesting how these coaches, the fraternity that exists amongst them. You know, you share a staff, right? These two guys coaching opposite one another in practice every day, but also seeing it through another coach's eyes from a different perspective can only make you a better head coach. Both of them getting their opportunity.
Marshy looking for his first down, and he doesn't have it there. He's looking for Keith Coffey, but that's Bryce Thompson, the true freshman, was right there in coverage.
Well, Bryce Thompson's name came up quite a bit in our meeting yesterday with Coach Pruitt. And this just speaks to what Randy Sanders talked about when we visited with him earlier this week. There are no layups. There is no gimme yardage versus a Jeremy Pruitt defense. He's seen plenty of them. That time, the Buccaneers lucky that it didn't go the other way for 6.
Watson's third punt, forthcoming. Marquez Callaway standing at his own 40-yard line. And it's blocked! Immediately blocked and picked up inside the 5-yard line. That's a touchdown for Tennessee. That is Marquill Osborne, the defensive back, blocking it, picking it up, and scoring.
What a play by Osborne. And here's the remarkable part about it. I'm down on the field during warm-ups. Jeremy Pruitt comes over to Osborne and chews him out for having this elbow sleeve on. He said, they don't care about how you look, they care about how you play. What a great play by Osborne. Answer the challenge of your head coach with a game-changing play.
The junior from Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. How about this play? Picks it up and heads to the checkerboards. All Rocky Top early. (10-0) Vols. First block punt for a touchdown since Devon Swafford did it for the Vols 5 years ago against the Georgia Bulldogs. Marquill Osborne gives Tennessee its first touchdown of the day here.
Well, if you stagnate on offense in the red zone, have to punt it away, get a special team score if you have to.
Their catch called by ETSU. They'll get it at the 25. Let's go back to the studio for another update in Dari. All right, so Salukis showing a little fight early at Vaught Hemingway.
Salukis aren't scared of land sharks. That's a proven fact.
East Tennessee State looking for their first down of the game. 3 3-and-outs so far for Randy Sanders in his Buccaneer offense.
He knew it was going to be tough sledding, did Randy Sanders. Also the play caller for the Buccaneer offense. Plenty of athletes out there for Tennessee, and they're still trying to establish who they are offensively in his first year.
Delay of game on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
That's one of the consequences of it. You know, it's a new head coach, new starting quarterback. We talked about Marshy coming in here as the Temple transfer, and a guy that they felt like from a skill set standpoint had the advantage over their incumbent Austin Harrington. But that right there, you know, administrative penalties, that drives a coach nuts regardless of the opposition.
Marshy a little behind Coffey, but Coffey with a nice grab, and that is the first down for ETSU.
Nice timing, gets right across the face, and does a good job getting upfield immediately. Nice timing on that throw, a little bit behind him. A nice way to recover after an administrative misstep at quarterback. That's some of the things that the coaches will look at and evaluate too. How do you bounce back? You screwed up. Don't let one play turn into two.
Marshy against his body, throws the deep ball. Had a man down there in Quan Harrison. He had a step on the defender, but overshot him.
Quan Harrison had a big game last week. 12 yards, 5 catches. It was a preseason All-Southern Conference pick, and he definitely had a step. Come off the heavy play action, move the pocket, so you're guaranteeing your quarterback some time to get a nice release point, and just too much on that football, but a missed opportunity downfield. Those are the type of plays that they have to hit, especially if you're giving up some special teams points going the other way.
Marshy's short throw to Coffey, and it'll be 3rd and short. Another studio update with Dari.
That's very uncharacteristic of a Jalen Hurts. You know, part of his value proposition to this offense for the Crimson Tide is he's not going to be reckless with the football. Tua is more electric, can do more things in both phases as a runner and a passer. We'll see that happen with Hurts very often.
Henry Pruitt, the defensive coordinator for the Tide the last few years. Now here trying to get his balls off the field on 3rd and short, and his team has done it. Bull rushed by Emmett Gooden and Jonathan Conbo.
Emmett Gooden is a guy, they just brought him in because they said they needed size. And he does a great job getting upfield quickly. You want penetration, especially on a 3rd down. Now that was 3rd and a reach, so you're talking about an inside run. That was, I don't know how much chance of success they had, regardless, given the yardage needed. Great job that time getting upfield by Gooden, who they're going to lean on this year for depth.
4 punts for ETSU in the first quarter. Play clock expires again.
Delay of game on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
You see Randy Sanders, he's coming out on the field. You can't believe it. Like, look, you know, we got a tough enough challenge as it is. That's 10 yards in this possession alone. A couple of delays of game, and we're going backwards in the field position. Yeah, this isn't a scoring opportunity, but don't forfeit a 1st down's worth of yardage.
Callaway, fair catch around the 22-yard line. Coming up at 7:30 Eastern, week 2 of the college football season rolls on with Kentucky and Florida in our SEC Saturday night matchup from the Swamp. SEC Network alternate channel. We'll have Alabama State taking on number 7 Auburn at Jordan-Hare. To find the SEC Network alternate channel in your area, go to secnetwork.com/channel. And both games are also streaming live on the ESPN app. And keep in mind, ETSU restarted their football program in 2015, as Chris Button talked to Coach Fulmer about that. Did not have a program for over 10 years. Have not made the FCS playoffs since the mid-90s. Garantano flushed out and sacked. That's back near the 16-yard line. That's Jason Madua-Fakwa with the tackle.
Excellent job, Taylor, on that one. Really well done. And really poor protection. You know, you're looking at, you want to take a shot. They were looking for Callaway downfield. It's first down, play action. And Madua-Fakwa did a great job not only flushing Garantano and getting him off of his spot and denying a threat downfield to Callaway.
You pause and you make sure you get it right. Just like the last name Zarzer. Tennessee gets the first quarter right, up 10-0. Well, the good news is on what we call the bug over there on the right that my man Mr. Headings is running. 10-0 Tennessee. The bad news is this graphic right in front of you. 33% of the plays last week for negative or 0 yards. Already 3 today, Stinch.
That's what you run into. That's how you end up with the 10th worst yards per play, is when you're going backwards. Yeah, we've seen some nice shots, a couple of shots. Of course, the longest play of the season so far downfield to Josh Palmer. But you spend too much time going backwards, especially in the red zone possession.
6 on the last play of the first quarter. Tano's got time. He's got a man underneath. That's Jordan Murphy sitting down underneath the defense and runs up near the 30 for 14 yards, 3rd and short.
Time the Buccaneers, they only rush 4. They're trying to run a couple of stunts. Nice pocket, nice and clean. Garantano can stand in there tall, step into his throw. When he's been able to do that, he's been on time and on target. They got to get those things cleaned up front if they want to be able to operate efficiently offensively. And so far, it's been pretty loose with this rebuilt offensive front.
Good 3rd down numbers at the beginning of the game last week, but Garantano hit hard as he tried to find Jordan Murphy 4th down.
Again, beat right now, right in the middle of the front. You got Ryan Johnson that slid in there trying to play center now in relief of the injured Brandon Kennedy. And so far, the Buccaneers have been active enough along their offensive front. You see offensive line coach Will Friend saying, look, the one place you can't give up pressure is in a quarterback's face. The A gaps on either side of the center, you have to be secure. Before the end of the quarter, same issue. Offensive front's got to get things tightened up.
Really good punt here from Joe Doyle. And Tyree Robinson fields it inside the 20. 52-yard punt for the freshman from Knoxville. Hard to believe it's been 20 years since Phil Fulmer and the Tennessee Vols knocked off the Noles in the national championship. Mobile's T. Martin finding Sean Bryson. Mobile's Marcus Outson throwing the pick to Dwayne Goodrich. Return 54 yards for a touchdown. Florida State intercepted by Steve Johnson. Vols win it 23-16 and pick up some crystal 2 decades ago.
How about that for Mobile?
Yeah,
the best
I had to
of
throw
times,
that in
those
there,
the
my
worst
local
of times.
city.
Yeah, I know.
Both quarterbacks in that game. Logan Marshy out of the backfield swings one to Ari Wirtz, the pride of Oklahoma. Mr. Dari Noko with a studio update.
One word, 2 syllables, and one heck of a quarterback. two really good quarterbacks.
Great problem to have.
You're not kidding. Wealth of riches.
No one wants to play the Tide in September. No one seems any part of the
or
season
October,
these days.
November, right?
Pickup of 6 for Wirtz. Now Marshy tries the other side to Wirtz, and he gets a first down. It's near 7-8 yards. So a couple of positive plays to the transfer from Georgia State.
They like Wirtz. They were talking about him in our call as well. Like the way he played, want him to practice a little bit better. It's a practice habit thing. What's the common denominator? You got a couple of coaches here that have been on championship caliber programs. They know what it's supposed to look like Monday through Friday. You can't just flip the switch on Saturday. Nice play that time by Wirtz.
Straight play, and this one almost picked off. Shy Tuttle. As there was a pass was broken up, but evidently did hit the ground.
There's a reason why defensive linemen don't do ball drills. Great job that time. Kyle Phillips batting the ball up. Shy Tuttle had a prime opportunity. Look at, he can't believe it. All that time rehabbing those knee injuries. You think he'd have been on the jugs machine a little bit, getting ready for that opportunity.
He had that too.
He did. He did. He was thinking house. He just got ahead of himself.
It's a toss to Holmes. He's got no place to go. Third down. You can stream college football all season long on ESPN Plus. So start your free trial today by downloading the ESPN app or visiting ESPNplus.com. Micah Abernathy, one of the Vols in the backfield. East Tennessee State with 0 rushing yards today.
There's a reason why you're seeing these horizontal passes. It's basically a long handoff. See if you can't move the line of scrimmage, pick up a block on the edge. Great job. Really 3 plays in a row by Abernathy.
That snap. Marshy into traffic, incomplete, was looking for Wirtz across the middle of the field, but well covered.
A little bit of pressure late. Balin Buchanan coming on the pressure right in the middle. And I felt like Marshy fitted in nicely. I think Wirtz might have heard some footsteps coming. He knew that he was going to be between that safety coming downhill. I think Wirtz thought maybe I'm going to live to fight another day.
Warrior, though, who delivered that hit, still down.
And it was a big shot. How many times have we seen this happen? The guy that's delivering the hit, and they end up on the ground. Good to see Warrior pop back up, just shaking up a little bit. It was a clean hit. And a lot of times you'll see that, where the defender oftentimes delivering a shot, and they're the ones that are more shaken up than the offensive player.
Another punt for Watson and an opportunity for Marquez Callaway. This is a very short punt. Callaway says get away from it, but it takes a big ETSU bounce. And it's down at the 18-yard line. It's a 52-yard punt. Vols back on offense, up 10. Jeremy Pruitt says he's here to get Tennessee back to being Tennessee. His players say if you want it easy, Coach Pruitt isn't for you. Case in point, running out on the field, asking Marquez Callaway why he didn't run up and field that ball instead of letting it roll an extra 15 to 20 yards. Even his own wife says being nice will get you fired. And Jeremy added, it's nothing personal, it's just coaching. And now we have a weather delay. Lightning within the area here in Knoxville.
Well, going back to what you were observing, Taylor, you know, what's lost in some of that edge where you see a coach who's up in his players' faces is that he comes back around, does a good job of building relationships. When you got a relationship with players, then you can coach them hard. As long as they know that you're in their corner, you want what's best. Jeremy Pruitt historically has had really good relationships with his players. Even last year, talking with some of those defensive guys at Alabama and what Jeremy Pruitt meant to them as their coordinator and as engaged as he was. But he's going to coach you, and he's going to coach you hard. Even Coach Fulmer was talking about it a little bit, how he's not scared to push these guys towards a standard. And as long as he does a good job of garnering that relationship, fostering those relationships, then you can do that. There's still kind of a transition here. perhaps even a mentally fragile football team. They mentioned confidence many times in our meetings. You got to make sure that you don't do it too much. Coach Pruitt's been around enough teams to know when to back off.
Well, there's weather out to our west. We hope it stays away from us here in Neyland Stadium, but in a weather delay. So we toss it back to the studio to Dari Noka, Chris Doring, and Gene Chisholm. Thank you, Mike. Back here in Knoxville, Matt Stinchcomb, Chris Button, and Taylor Zarzer with you, where the Vols lead 10-0, 45-minute weather delay. Let's get you caught up on what's happened so far. 51-yard pass, longest of the season, to Josh Palmer inside the 5-yard line, set up a field goal. UT's defense has shown up here today. Mr. Kirkland in the backfield with a big loss there. And then the block punt by Marquil Osborne into the checkerboards. Tennessee is up 10-0, Matt Stinchcomb. That's the good news. Bad news is we need to get the ground game going.
It's been non-existent for Tennessee right now. Right now, ETSU has 0 rushing yards, and they're out-rushing Tennessee at -1 rushing yards. This is not what we anticipated, and certainly not what the offensive coaches wanted in this ball game. They wanted to be able to build on what they saw out of that ground game versus West Virginia in the opener. We have not seen that so far. A couple of early nice rushes from Tim Jordan. They finally got into the red zone at one point in time and only went backwards with negative yardage plays on the ground.
We have not seen Keller Christ yet. It looked like he might be coming out before the weather delay started, but it's still Jarrett Garantano out there. And there's Jeremy Banks, the true freshman tailback, standing about 6 yards behind him. Here's Banks, straight up the gut, plenty of daylight, and he's tackled past the 30-yard line down to Chris Button.
Well, I asked Jeremy Pruitt if he learned anything from last week's lightning delay. He said, I don't know about myself, but I hope my team did, about coming out with energy. And I have noticed a difference. Jarrett Garantano came up to his team, tried to fire them all up, yelling at them, something I have not seen this entire game yet.
You can't do that, Stinch. Tremont Farrell.
Offside, defense 97, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Yeah, they caught him with a hard count on this one, and this was just right up the gut. Opened up. They ended up leading behind Jerome Carvin, pulling from his right guard spot. It ended up being a G lead. It looked like it could have gone outside, and Banks throw a move on that safety and pick up more yards. Great run, though, in the middle.
Banks again on 1st and 5. We had a couple. Banks, one of 8 true freshmen that played for the Vols last week. How about what Jeremy Pruitt told us yesterday? He thinks Banks might be the best leader on the team. Says he has to slow him down sometimes in practice.
Well, these young guys. And, you know, Jeremy Banks, freshman in this program, but a guy that they like, brings a ton of energy. You'd rather want to rein guys in than try to kick at them to get them going.
Trips over a tackler in the backfield. Tremont Farrell right there, 3rd down.
Couple of nice plays by Tremont Farrell. And it's disruptive. Whenever you can get penetration from guard to guard, right in the middle of the offensive front. A lot of these runs are meant to wind back. You attack the point right there in the middle of the offensive front and then try to bounce it outside. Farrell doing a good job getting upfield.
Third down throw, and it's incomplete. Too high for Callaway, but here comes the flag. It's Jeremy Lewis.
Defense number 13. Ball will be placed in the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
Going to 2017's leading receiver in Callaway, and you can see Lewis, the left hand, the right hand, a couple of helmet taps. That left hand draped on Callaway's front shoulder, never had a shot at elevating it to throw.
Let's set it down to the Vols at their own 48. Pick up the blitz. Plenty of time to air it out. Long to Callaway again. What a catch!
When we talked with offensive coordinator Tyson Helton, he said they wanted to get loose in the backfield, the defensive backfield. Can they get some shots over top? Sometimes we've seen the protection break down. That time, Callaway, great job adjusting to the ball in the air. A nice hands catch. Got a bump from DeLentz, who is a track star at ETSU. That's twice now where he has been beaten deep, once by Josh Palmer and now by Marquez Callaway.
And both were 51-yard plays. Now, can Tennessee punch it in? Have really struggled inside the 5 so far this season. It's Jordan taking on tacklers. No.
It's a great point, Taylor. I mean, this is almost a mirror image of what we saw in the opening possession. And you see there, this is something that Jeremy Pruitt was talking about a little bit. Get behind your blockers. You can't bounce everything outside. That time, 3 Buccaneer defenders as Jordan tried to bounce it wide. Now Banks gets a shot.
Here's his chance. He asked the crowd to make some noise before that play, and he gets them yelling for 6.
Sometimes you just got to cram it in there. And that's exactly what Banks did here. Don't dance around, there's not enough time. Great job at the point of attack by the left side of that offensive front. No surprise. You see Jeremy Pruitt there. He really likes what he has in his namesake, Jeremy Banks. Talking to him a little bit. Likes that attitude run. Good to see the Vols punch it in if you're looking at offense.
Magley extra point is good. 6 plays, 82 yards, and a touchdown coming out of the weather delay. The true freshman Jeremy Banks in the end zone. Vols up 17-zip. Coming up at halftime, you can watch the live performance of the official marching band for the University of Tennessee. The Pride of the Southland Band on SEC Network Plus. Start streaming now on the ESPN app. They've had a couple of chances to play Rocky Top already in this first half. And the Vols come out guns a-blazing after that weather delay.
Yeah, they're finally able to capitalize on a red zone opportunity. Nice physical finish to that offensive possession after a big play downfield to Callaway.
ETSU gets it again at the 25-yard line. Took a look at some of those great runs that the Vols had on that drive, beginning with Jeremy Banks for 15 yards.
Yeah, Banks just going straight ahead. He's got that downhill mentality. Throw a move on a safety and pick up even more yards. Comes in handy on the goal line, though. No moves needed. Don't try to shake anybody loose. We don't have that far to go. Sometimes you just got to stick your nose down, maybe cram your helmet in the backside of one of your offensive linemen and muscle your way into the end zone. You just got to know the situation sometimes. Coach Pruitt was talking about it. Don't amp up the crowd and ask for crowd noise when we're on offense trying to score.
Marshy intercepted. Going the other way is Bryce Thompson, the true freshman, diving to the pylon and marked out inside the 1.
A couple of times for Bryce Thompson. This time just a high throw and he's in the right spot at the right time. See him extend right there at the end of this run. And he steps out of bounds before he's able to extend the football forward. Nice heads up play, and there's a takeaway. Got a takeaway last week on a forced fumble. And now another takeaway for the Tennessee defense.
That is freshman from Irmo, South Carolina. And I think they'll take another look at this because at that replay,
The previous ruling of the runner being short is under further review.
it suggested Stinch was out closer to the 4-yard line instead of the 1.
Yeah, I don't know that they're looking at did he score or not, but did they get the spot correct? So here's Thompson. Hard to tell really from that angle. The end zone look that we had.
Yeah, watch this his
here.
right foot here.
That's what they're looking at. It's not did he score, it's let's make sure they get the spot right. We just got done talking about, looks like right there, as you mentioned, you know, right there between the 3 and 4 yard line going in.
So they mark it at the 3 yard line. Vols have 3 tight ends. True freshman with an interception. True freshman with a touchdown. Another one for Jeremy Banks.
It's a great way to pad your stat sheet. Just got a touchdown run. How about a one-play drive to get into the end zone again for the true freshman? That time, he didn't ask for any crowd noise. He wanted to earn it after he scored.
The Tennessee Vols are one of the youngest teams in all of college football, having to rely on guys that were in high school at this time last year. First, Bryce Thompson with the pick, and then Jeremy Banks pays it off again. All Vols on Rocky Top.
One of the hallmarks of Jeremy Pruitt's defenses, takeaways. And when you look at what he's been able to put together, second only to Washington in the same time frame since 2013, he's got 3 more takeaways. Was at FSU, went to Georgia, then Alabama, and now here at Tennessee, and already a takeaway, setting up an offensive score on an extremely short field.
Bucks get it again at the 25 yard line. So an opportunistic day for Tennessee today. Coming up on the Auto Owners Insurance halftime report, Georgia versus South Carolina. We'll get you an update on that one. A good one at Williams-Brice. Tua and Jalen both going off against the Red Wolves in the first half. And Mississippi State runs it up big in the Little Apple today.
There's a lot of folks that were thinking maybe that this is a tricky game. It's a road trip, supposedly a hostile environment. I'm hard pressed. There's not many non-conference games where the SEC team's going somewhere else and they're going to feel like it's a hostile environment. They're used to those in their home schedule.
Quay Holmes for the Bucks past the 30 yard line for 6. SEC off to a terrific start. The only loss would be what Tennessee had against West Virginia in a game that was much closer than I thought the score reflected. Tennessee had a chance inside the 10 yard line, turning it over on downs in the fourth quarter. In fact, West Virginia had staff members that I spoke with this week. Stench said the game felt much more like a 2-touchdown game than a 26-point victory for the Mountaineers. Holmes tries to bust it outside, but he's tackled there. Daniel Batuli made the first contact.
Big Alexis Johnson working down the line again, putting in work from his defensive tackle spot. Yeah, you know, coaches say that a lot. You know, just, oh, there's always room to work. And I got to tell you, it was hard to watch. You know, if you're a Tennessee fan, you're watching this game versus West Virginia, there weren't a lot of bright spots. You know, a couple of drop touchdown passes by West Virginia there early in the game. Otherwise, the gap's probably a little bit wider. A lot of work to be done here at Tennessee. Defensively, though, so far in this contest, putting together a really strong showing.
And batted down, again deflected, and again picked off. This is Darren Kirkland. Watch out. 34 yards for number 34.
We need to get a shot at Jeremy Banks. He's the only one that's disappointed. He wanted another shot at the end zone. Well, Darren Kirkland, we can talk about recruiting classes. The most important recruit for Jeremy Pruitt so far in his career as the head coach at Tennessee was keeping that guy on this roster. A leading tackler, and now already with a pick 6 here in week 2.
He almost transferred on May 24th, tweeting out a message saying that he intended to play the rest of his football elsewhere. Talked back into it by Jeremy Pruitt to stay here, and makes the big play headed to the checkerboards as Tennessee is rolling.
Kyle Phillips should have 2 assists in this game. He had a tip earlier that Shy Tuttle should have come down with, or could have, with an interception. That time, Phillips gets his hands up again, deflects a pass into the middle of the defense. You always, as an offensive player, you just hold your breath whenever that ball's deflected, especially when it's in the middle of the field, because those defenders, they're going to converge. That time, Darren Kirkland on the receiving end of a deflected pass by Kyle Phillips, his defensive lineman, and he takes it all the way back the other direction. Takeaways. And Jeremy Pruitt defenses, they go hand in hand, and it's starting to break this game open.
Good for the Volunteer fans, too, who haven't seen their team win a football game in 10 months, losing 4 straight and 8 of their last 9. So this kind of first half out of the weather delay is something that their fans have been longing for. Down to the field, and Chris Budden.
Taylor, Darren Kirkland may have been Jeremy Pruitt's biggest recruit, but the recruitment actually started with Kirkland's parents. I talked to Darren this week. He said, I was ready to go, but it was a conversation that Pruitt had with my family. He told them, listen, if you want to leave, I'll call Mark Richt, I'll call Nick Saban, I'll call whoever you want, you're free to go. That was the message that he sent to the family. The family loved it, realized that he had Darren's back. Once the family was sold, Darren was sold.
Graduated already, Chris, with a degree in recreation and sports management. Has had injuries the last couple of years that he's had to deal with, but had a career-high 10 tackles last week. Now pick 6 today as Emmett Gooden makes the tackle there after a couple yards.
You got to get mom on board. That's a influential voice. Mom and dad getting in the ear of their kid. They, of course, want what's best for them always. If they can be convinced that you're in alignment with what they want, well, that's pretty powerful. And obviously a huge get, or retention, for the Tennessee defense and Darren Kirkland.
Marshy, miscommunication with Keith Coffey, 3rd down. Vols have limited the Bucks to 59 total yards here in the first half.
The defense came out. They came out to show out, and they've done a good job, not only with the takeaways, and ETSU knew this. Randy Sanders, you know, he is a realist. He recognized that they had a challenge in front of them. Didn't anticipate having a ton of success rushing the football after having really balanced production in week 1 versus Mars Hill. This is an entirely different proposition versus the Vols.
No question. As Holmes tries the left side and no place to go. Look at that open field tackle by Bryce Thompson.
A couple of missed tackles before Bryce Thompson gets in here to clean it up. Block early on the edge, able to break the would-be tackle of Balin Buchanan, and Bryce Thompson was having none of it. And this kid flashes, doesn't he? I mean, we've already seen it here in the first half. The coaches talked about him quite a bit, saying that he was going to get time. He and Alante Taylor, they liked the way Thompson practiced this week better than Taylor did. Said Taylor played better than Thompson did versus West Virginia, but Thompson prepared better this week.
It's the 5th 3 and out so far for the Buccaneers. Longest drive, 13 yards.
The Buccaneers are just glad they got to punt that one, Taylor. I mean, after the previous 2 possessions.
Here comes Keller Christ, who had just 5 rushes, or 5 plays that he played in the game against West Virginia, just handed off those 5 times in his debut last week. The transfer from Stanford, who was 11-2 as a starter there, 19 career touchdowns, 6 interceptions, threw for nearly 2,000 yards. Tosses it to Tim Jordan, who finds some daylight past the 40-yard line.
Well, the coaches know they got to get Keller Christ engaged and involved when it matters and when it counts. Eventually, he's going to have to contribute in some capacity. He definitely comes from a football family.
Into Jordan. Look at all that space around the right side. 2 consecutive first down runs as Robinson pushes him out after a 15-yard gain.
Yeah, they're able to get an escort out wide. It's a pin and pull at the point of attack where you've got offensive linemen and a tight end blocking down. It's a nice angle. And then you're able to pull guards and tackles out in front. That time, big Jerome Carvin, true freshman, able to lead Jordan downfield.
Banks back there now. And he's got no place to go as the tackling machine, Dylan Weigel, was there, second down.
It's an attitude type of possession so far. Get the ground game going a little bit. Christ hasn't had a ton of snaps, as you mentioned. But I'm anxious to see whether or not they're going to get him some reps. They're going to have to passing this football. You want to get away from what you're doing well offensively. We haven't seen many sustained drives from Tennessee. They've been fueled by big plays.
Going to air it out for the first time in his Tennessee career, and it's a completion to Dom Wood Anderson. And that's for 12 yards. And it moves the chains again. Another first down for the Vols. So Christ finds his tight end underneath. Wood Anderson had that big touchdown on that 17-play drive against West Virginia in the first half last week.
Wood Anderson's good looking. We were down there on the field. He is good looking on the hook.
Banks inside the 30 and pushed all the way down to the 27 for nearly 9 more.
He's just a physical runner. I like the way 33 runs here. Jeremy Pruitt talked about it. Guys don't like to see him in practice. He's got a heavy head. There are guys like that. You run up there and hit them, and it's like they got concrete in their helmet. 33. Nice physical finishes to his runs.
This is Madri London, and London gets the first down right at the 20-yard line. Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Thinking Out Loud is back for another season with Greg McElroy and Marcus Spears. They'll talk football and want your participation via social media throughout the show. It's also available streaming live on the ESPN app.
A lot of gap schemes, a lot of pulling guards in this drive so far. They're able to get an extra blocker at the point of attack. Little friend, the offensive line coach, big fan of getting those guards active in the run game.
This is a sweep. This is Josh Palmer. Daylight inside the 10. Touchdown. 20 yards for the sophomore from Canada.
And that's what a physical run game will get for you. It doesn't just open up a passing attack. You break out a couple of meat tenderizer runs. Get that soft underbelly of the defense. Everybody's sucked down inside. And then you run a little zone look up front. Everybody's stepping in one direction, and the ball's going the opposite way. Nice timing from offensive coordinator Helton.
Tell you what, that break for 45 minutes has yielded 28 points in the last 6 minutes and 27 seconds, culminating with this in the round by the receiver, Palmer.
Just waiting for Palmer to make an impact on this season. Kind of quiet week 1. Caught a big pass, the longest play at that time on the season, 51 yards, but showing his speed, able to capture the edge. And that's what they're going to have to be able to do. But you can't win all the time with razzle-dazzle. You're not going to be able to capture the perimeter that easily if you're not able to run downhill. And they were able to do that on a number of those runs in this possession. Chris puts it in the air one time. Otherwise, they're downhill attitude runs. And then you're able to get the big hitter on the perimeter to Palmer.
Tennessee at -1 rushing yards. When the weather delay started, they have 76 now. It's 10-zip with just over 12 minutes to go in this quarter. The Vols have broken it wide open as you see the 2 UT quarterbacks.
That's what the coaches are looking for. Garantano, he's the guy that they want Chris to impact and influence Garantano.
It's out of bounds. It'll give ETSU somewhat solid field position. Marty Smith and Ryan McGee, a.k.a. Marty and McGee, a.k.a. My Boys. The TV show will be on the SEC Network next Thursday at 9 Eastern. After Kentucky, Missouri women's soccer, you can never get enough of the M&M boys. Like everything else, you can see them live on the ESPN app as well from anywhere, fueled by Gatorade.
He's walking out like he's getting ready for a yard sale. Hillbilly headlines is just...
You got to have the fist pump ready at all times for my man Martin Cameron Smith.
I loved when Ryan McGee said that Marty Smith looked like the Olympic torch. I thought that was just fantastic.
I love those boys. 3 minutes left in the first half. And this is Holmes. It has a little daylight here. That's the best run of the day for ETSU past midfield for 18 yards.
This is what you don't want. You don't ever want to let up, especially after you've enjoyed some success. Bam, quick scores, an explosion of points. A lot of it fueled by these takeaways on defense. Jeremy Pruitt standing on the other sideline going, don't take your foot off the gas now. We talk about the edge that he's coaching with. He's calling these defensive sets. You better believe that he doesn't want anybody to get loose and out the gate, especially as a rusher.
Longest play for the Bucks on the last one. And Holmes goes straight ahead past the 42. And Pruitt learned from the ultimate example of someone that never lets his foot off the gas. And I think Tennessee's had to swallow hard at the idea that an Alabama guy,
no question,
who coached underneath Nick Saban is here now running their program. But they'll forget about all of that if he wins big.
No, listen, winning fixes everything. And not that you have to fix the fact that Jeremy Pruitt played at Alabama, coached at Alabama, and it helps that your athletic director is an iconic figure in Tennessee lore, Philip Fulmer. That takes the edge off a little bit, takes maybe some of that crimson off of a lot of the members of the current Tennessee coaching staff.
Jacob Saylor's a yard shy of the first down. He's not the first person that went to Alabama that's coached at Tennessee. Bill Battle did that back in the early 70s.
Hey, listen, this has happened plenty of times in the history of this conference. Pat Dye played at Georgia. Vince Dooley played at Auburn. So it's happened before.
Will Muschamp right now at South Carolina.
He's done it twice, Florida and South Carolina.
Marshy on 3rd and 1, and it's almost picked off. That was Alante Taylor that stepped in there at the last minute. 4th down.
Yeah, that ball almost went the other direction, as you mentioned. You see Jeremy Pruitt, his climb to being a head coach. Started at Hoover High School. That's a pretty legendary high school football program. Worked his way up on an off-field role at Alabama and was able to earn his way onto the practice field. Became the defensive backs coach, defensive coordinator Kirby Smart at the time. Over the course of that tenure, pulled home, 5 national championships.
The 4th down play, and keeping it himself is Marshy for the first down. Inside the 35, down to the 32.
I hadn't seen Marshy do a lot of this. A low snap. He just sticks his foot in the ground and gets downhill, able to get the conversion. The Buccaneers doing all that they can to try to squeeze some points onto the scoreboard here in the first half. An elongated first half at that with the weather delay.
They have all 3 of their timeouts, but the clock starts to become a factor here. And that's deflected again, and 3 balls run into each other. Incomplete.
That's like blood in the water. I mean, they're conversion like piranhas now. Everybody's looking to get a pick. Once again, ball ends up in the air. Marshy having a hard time with the throwing lanes. Part of that is because of the penetration. That time Jonathan Kongbo back there trying to wrestle an interception from a couple of DBs. Hey, let the little guys do what they do best, man. Don't get in the way. You do the batting and the sacking. We'll do the picking.
Alexis Johnson was the man that deflected that. It's the 4th pass breakup so far, and 2 interceptions already for the Vols today. Quay Holmes on the ground, no place to go. Bottled up by a C of orange jerseys. Darrell Taylor, we'll give him some credit for that one.
Now ETSU takes that timeout. Part of it, they're sitting there thinking they may have wondered, Tennessee might try to stop the clock and preserve some time if they get a stop and take one more offensive possession. As it is, you got a 3rd and 10 plus with 33 left.
Randy Sanders, the first-year head coach at ETSU in his second game, of course spent over 20 years at UT as a player and as an assistant coach. ETSU shutting down their program after the 2003 season, brought it back in 2015. Carl Torbush coached the team for 3 years, former head coach at North Carolina, before parting ways with the program in Johnson City at the end of last year. It's going to take some time for them to be competitive at the top of the Southern Conference and work their way back into FCS playoff contention, but you have a man that is so familiar with this state now coaching the team.
No doubt. He's got those connections. He's a name guy. After all this time he spent not only in this conference, but at this school, in this state, a Tennessee man. And he's been around some great football teams and coached some really good offenses. Certainly some great playmakers at the quarterback spot. You need all of that to resurrect a program.
Marshy on 3rd and 11. Incomplete. He overshoots Anthony Spagnoletti.
The heat was coming from the backside for Marshy. Hasn't had a ton of success. Offensively, just in general, they were able to pop a run early in this possession, but it's just so difficult. Lay your ears back as a defense when you're not concerned about the ground game. And when you look at the down and distances that the Buccaneers have been forced into. Great job on 1st and 2nd down by Tennessee defensively to get you into 3rd and obvious.
Their kicker has made 51-yarders before, but they stay on the field on a 4th and 11. Marshy flushed out, in trouble, batted back to him. He can't throw it now. See if he can get all the way inside the 25, and no. He's going to run out of bounds at the 35-yard line. It was Alontae Taylor that chased him. Shy Tuttle, I believe, Stinch, is the guy that... that's
Kyle Phillips.
Kyle Phillips, yep.
Kyle Phillips, I think, was a volleyball player in high school. I mean, the guy's just batting balls all over the field. This is the 3rd one. At least this time it was caught after he deflected it. Unfortunately for him, it was by ETSU's quarterback. And Kyle Phillips, the guy's gotten his hands on the ball over and over again. That time might have been his forearm.
What a half of football for the Volunteers in all 3 phases, limiting ETSU to 88 total yards, a couple of pick sixes, a punt block for a touchdown, and all of a sudden Jarrett Garantano and the ground game got going for 220 total yards of offense and 4 touchdowns after the 45-minute weather delay. And Chris Button is standing by with Coach Pruitt.
Coach, you told me you hoped your team learned something from last week's delay. So what did you think of the way they came out and responded to this delay?
Well, we're still having too many negative plays, too many mental errors, but not as many. So when we don't have as many, we have a little bit of production. We did get some turnovers, which has helped us.
There was a lot more production than in the first part before the delay. So where have you seen the biggest improvement in their execution?
Well, we've been committed to running the football.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
38-0. Tennessee leads the Bucs. Now let's go to the Auto Owners Insurance halftime report with Dari Noka, Gene Chizik, and Chris Doring. Very impressive first half from the Tennessee Volunteers, who lead East Tennessee State 38-0 in the first ever meeting between the two schools. He's Matt, I'm Taylor. Chris is down there. You'll see her in just a second. When the Vols came out after that 45-minute weather delay, Stinch, they came out like a team possessed.
Well, and that's what Coach Pruitt wanted, is let's see if we can respond better than we did in week 1 after a weather delay. And they did. Got the big hitter downfield to Marquez Callaway, and then Jeremy Banks, the true freshman, hammering it into the end zone. And then the defense sets up the offense with a short field. So on the back end of a scoring drive, get right back into the end zone. One play, 6 points, Tennessee. Deflections have really fueled the takeaways. This time Darren Kirkland gets it, takes it all the way back to the house, doesn't even bother with the offense at that point in time. And then Josh Palmer on an end around. You look at what happened in the first half, those turnovers and the points that they generated, 5 pass breakups, a lot of plays by this defense to set up what this score looks like right now. You know, really, there wasn't much to speak of offensively other than those big plays. The downfield passing for Tennessee has been pretty impressive. What they need to get are those bread and butter plays, the garden variety runs, and they were able to get that possession right before the end of half.
Next kick into the end zone. Vols get it at the 25, Chris Budden.
Hey, I spoke with Randy Sanders coming out of that half, and I asked him what his message was to the team. He said, I've been preaching all game long that we have to play this game as if the scoreboard reads 0-0. I asked him also where he thought Tennessee made the biggest improvements coming out of that weather delay. He said, I actually think it's on us. They've been taking advantage of our miscues.
There have been plenty so far for the Buccaneers today. Just 49 yards passing for Logan Marshy, just a couple of first downs in the game. 88 total yards for the Bucs, with UT back on offense and Jarrett Garantano in at quarterback. Tim Jordan takes on a few tackles for a few yards. We mentioned it a couple of times. Tennessee's lost 4 straight games, 8 of their last 9. It's a team that hasn't won a game since the first weekend in November last season against Southern Miss. So that half was enjoyed by all of the Big Orange family.
They're hungry. They're hungry for a win. And you know, Coach Sanders says it's more on his defense, but there's clearly a commitment to get the running game going. Before that delay, 8 rushes, -1 yard rushing. Since then, now 14 rushes, 77 yards, and a lot of them between the tackles.
Jordan takes on a few more. Tremont Farrell makes the tackle. It'll be 3rd and long.
And that's just, it's a missed assignment. Otherwise, they've got a hat for a hat on that run. That's some of the things that Coach Pruitt talked about going into halftime. Some things that they have to clean up. You got to tighten down on the MAs, the missed assignments. Right now, this team isn't good enough to just overcome guys that aren't well assigned, especially in this running game.
Vols 2 for 5 on this down today. And that is caught right at the sticks. Make it 3 for 6 as Callaway makes the first down catch.
Can't say enough about Callaway. He has been targeted on 3rd downs. They're seeking a conversion. Garantano is going to look for number 1. Not only has he been able to get over top the defense for some big shots, but he's also been a strong possession maintaining receiver right at the sticks to get conversions.
Fake to London. Garantano loads up. Palmer's down there, incomplete. Good defensive play by Tyree Robinson.
We've seen some deep balls from Garantano in this game. Callaway came back for the football right at the end of the first half. As you see Garantano taking a shot as he releases this ball. That throw hung and was a little bit inside. Palmer had a step. If he's able to lead him, he can run through that pass. Instead, the ball hangs inside and brings the receiver back into coverage.
This is London with wide open space inside the 35-yard line, tiptoeing the sideline, marked out at the 30. That's a gain of 34 for the Michigan State transfer.
For a second, you're like, is that Jamal Lewis? We're trying to roll it all the way back to 1998. That's a big guy rumbling down the sideline. And this is what it takes for explosive runs, especially on the perimeter. Your wideouts, that time it's Tyler Bird. They have to be willing to stick their nose in and get their jersey dirty, blocking downfield.
3rd different tailback of the drive is Jeremy Banks, who already has a couple of touchdowns and lost the football. And he coughs it up, and the Buccaneers are on top of it. Tennessee's first turnover. Dylan Weigel caused it, and Madua Fakwa jumped on it. We'll see if Banks was, in fact, fumbling it before his knee was down.
Another stellar job by you, by the way. And it looks like he's not down. It looked like his left leg actually caused this fumble. It looked like maybe his elbow would have established him down. I don't think his forearm or elbow ever made contact with the playing surface. Good job by the referees, the officials on the field.
Holmes gets it to the 30. Daniel Batuli on the tackle. First turnover for Tennessee today.
Another opportunity for Coach Pruitt to coach his guys up. That time Sean Schamberger on the receiving end of some insight from his head coach, and the guy who's calling these defensive sets.
Prior to the play, the previous play is under review.
I was wondering if they would take a look at it and waited to the last second, evidently, to see if, in fact, Jeremy Banks' knee was down.
Yeah, it looks like it could have been when it happened real time. You see that ball a little bit loose. They want it to be tight to the torso. It's away from his body here, but he's got control of it. It looks like his own leg. Yeah, that's a fumble. His own leg causes, as he torques around, his own leg causes the football to come out.
My only question is, was his knee on the ground before that happened? There's no question, you're right, that his leg did cause the fumble.
It looked as if Weigel's arm, and it might be, I thought at first you're right. I thought that Weigel's arm was underneath his leg. But that left knee looks like it's down. I don't think he's losing control of the football right there. It's away from his body, yeah. But it doesn't look like he's lost control of the football at that point. You're right, Taylor. I think his left knee was on the ground before that ball came out.
Well, coaches have raved about this guy and the teammate he's been, how hard Jeremy Banks runs, how hard he practices. They have to slow him down in practice because he's so confident, has so much energy. But still some things to be taught for sure. Don't ask the crowd to be loud before you're going to run a touchdown in.
Yeah, especially in a stadium like this one, because you want these fans to get engaged. They'll do it, and there's plenty of them. They can get loud in a hurry, especially towards the end zones.
A little accident on the bench a little earlier today, too, as he was trying to egg on the crowd.
Yeah, broke a chair.
Let's look at this on the bench after. Well, first we'll get the announcement here. Matt Austin.
After review, the runner's knee was down prior to losing possession. The ball will be returned to that spot. It'll be 2nd and 8 at the 27-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 12 minutes and 15 seconds.
So just subtly celebrate Jeremy Banks. Don't get too crazy. Yeah. Go over to the bench and egg on the crowd, because then you might slip and fall.
And let's make it clear, he didn't do this after the fumble. This was after the touchdown. Yeah, he's not over there celebrating the fact that he was down, but the ball came out. Good eyes by you and the officials. That was excellent procedure, especially when a possession is in flux. I thought Weigel's arm was underneath his leg. It was clearly Banks. His left knee was down well before that ball came loose.
I think the best thing about Banks is all his issues, if you want to call them that, are coachable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
World of talent for the freshman from Cordova, Tennessee. Garantano, middle of the field, Callaway, and it's incomplete. And he was fighting for the football with Jeremy Lewis, who collided with the wall down there past the end zone.
See the confidence that Garantano has in Callaway, and justifiably so, as you see him fight back through to get to this football through Jeremy Lewis in coverage. Callaway at 6'2", 3 inches on Jeremy Lewis, and Garantano is not scared to give his playmaker at wide receiver a shot at the ball in the air.
Jordan, first and more inside the 15. Blake Bockrath on the tackle after a 12-yard gain for the sophomore from Bartow, Florida.
Well, unsurprising. You want to gain some yards, run left. My big Trey Smith over there at left tackle. One of the best in the country, certainly in this conference.
And you said at any position in all of college football.
I think that they have got a really unique talent in number 73.
Garantano swings it out to Callaway, and he's inside the 10, breaking tackles inside the 5, first and goal.
You talk about wide receivers blocking, it's not just when a running back has the ball in his hands. The horizontal passing game demands that your perimeter players are willing to block. That time, Juwan Jennings ties up his man just long enough. Give Callaway credit. He is physical with the ball in his hands after contact, and he's able to muscle his way even further, deeper into the red zone. And the Volunteers once again knocking on the door inside of the 5.
This is London to the end zone. Touchdown.
You pull your big right guard, Jerome Carvin. London decides to bounce it outside and does it himself. And he's able to break the plane and get into the end zone once again.
Ran for over 900 total yards in 3 seasons at Michigan State, had 8 touchdowns for Coach D'Antonio. Finishing up his career as a graduate player for the Vols. All Rocky Top today. 3rd different running back to find pay dirt. The late, great John Ward would say, give him 6. How about that one? Salukis and the Rebels fighting to the wire.
Who saw that coming?
After what Ole Miss did to Texas Tech last week?
Nobody. That's the danger, though. You get teams that, it's hard to keep that focus week in and week out.
Another fair catch, and you see the fair catch made at the 1-yard line by Quay Holmes. And if you haven't seen this yet, if you fair catch the football anywhere inside the 25, that's where you get it. New rule this year in college football. That's a significant change, too.
You're not kidding. And, it's all towards player safety. That's what this rule change is geared towards. The most violent play of any football game consistently is kickoff. When everybody's going to get nachos, if you're there to see the collisions, you need to stick around for kickoff. That's when you're seeing like a 20-car pileup every single time. They want to get the fair catch, a little bit more of a presence in the game.
Short pass yields almost nothing to Sailors out of the backfield. Look at what Tennessee's done post-weather delay. 45-minute weather delay at the 12:10 mark of the second quarter today. And they came out like gangbusters after that. It's a different story against the Mountaineers last week.
No question. And that's what it needed to be. They were disappointed. You go in there for what was an extended period of time, a good bit longer even than this one. And they didn't like the way they performed after that weather delay. This time, running the football with much greater authority. I think a lot of it really is how they're dialing up the runs and where they're intended to be.
Marshy, who's been running for his life most of this game, tiptoes the sideline, is marked out past the 30-yard line. It'll be 3rd down from there.
Marshy, I think he's just looking to survive. This time, he had a chance to pick up the 1st down. I don't know if he lost his balance Ended up stepping out of bounds, could have gotten the conversion. As he set himself up for a third down. And the Tennessee Vol defense has been able to collapse the pocket with just their down 4.
Been perfect on this down. Tennessee has on defense today. Marshy in front of a packed house at ETSU last week with over 8,000 people watching. Threw for 3 touchdowns. Over 90,000 watching here on Rocky Top today. Underneath throw, and that's a good one. To Ari Wirtz. And laying the lumber after the whistle there, or during the whistle, is Nigel Warrior.
Well, Ari Wirtz in the first half might have heard some footsteps. This time, he felt them. Nice catch. Gets the first down. Does a great job of completing it, but Nigel Warrior coming down from safety had a free run. You see Wirtz, he's over there. He's fired up. He should be. Contested catch there, but just enough to convert the sticks.
This is Sailors. This is the best run of the day near the 40-yard line. Alante Taylor with the shoestring tackle after a gain of 23.
That time they did a great job, did the Buccaneers, of covering up the Vols defense at the second level. Hat on a hat, get in front of the linebackers, and allow Sailors to get going. He's a guy that Randy Sanders is pretty excited about. In fact, he said skill set wise, this is a guy that in his most recent experience in the ACC, he could make a roster. He could contribute on some ACC squads.
He gave up 10 plays of over 20 yards last week, only 1 today. Studio update, Ndari. DK Metcalf.
Alley-oop. Just throw it near him.
Maybe the best get off the bus looking wide receiver in college football.
Frightening. He looks like a Under Armour mannequin or something. Or whoever they're sponsored by.
Second and 8. Marshy, one-on-one, that wanted to take a shot there, and Coffee had a step.
Working against a true freshman, Alante Taylor. And you go back to what Randy Sanders knew coming into this game. It's just so hard. It's just going to be so hard. There's no gimme yards. They're going to roll up on you. They'll play man outside. They're not scared to do it. They're capable of pressuring. They're not going to give up a ton of rush yards. We've seen a couple get out of the gate, but that's not going to happen on a consistent basis. You got to take your shots. And right now, that time, the true freshman, stride for stride.
Sets up the bubble to Sailors. First down yardage and more inside the 25. Diving ahead to the 20. That's 18 yards for the freshman from Jasper, Tennessee, who's having a great drive.
Just like in practice back in Tallahassee. Here's Randy Sanders dialing up a screen into the teeth of a blitz. Couldn't have timed it any better. That is the ultimate play call versus that pressure look. Great job, perfect timing, and well executed by the Buccaneer offense to take advantage of the call that Tennessee had on.
Sailors will lose yardage this time. Hit hard by Emmett Gooden, a guy that you've been impressed with watching film these last couple of days.
No, he's a guy that came in here as a JUCO, and the coaches said, you know what, we're looking for a big body. We needed some size inside, a guy that can rotate, give us some reps. And then they realized, wait a minute, this guy's got a skill set. He's got some trait to him that we can use. And so it's not just going to be, why don't you rotate in there, big boy, at 306 pounds and let these other guys get a blow on the sideline. No. We're going to use you.
Second and 12, almost picked off. And it was Thompson who tried to jump in front of the intended receiver, third down.
Bryce Thompson. He's got a nose for the football. This number 20 for Tennessee. He seems like he's around it an awful lot. Has been today. Just couldn't quite bring that one in. But another true freshman one of those guys last week. First time you had a true freshman duo starting since Kurt Maggitt and A.J. Johnson. A couple of good ones for Tennessee back in 2011.
An interception, a pass breakup, 2 tackles for loss, 4 tackles all over the stat sheet today. She tries the near side and it's incomplete, out of bounds. 4th down. Going back to what you were saying about Emmett Gooden, finding enough depth on the defensive side of the football is a challenge, not only for Tennessee, but the team we saw last week, South Carolina, who got beat today by Georgia 41-17. There's several teams in the SEC East still searching for defensive depth.
You know, so much now with the offenses that want to run a bunch of plays, but still have size up front so they can ground and pound you if they need to. It puts a premium on defensive linemen.
J.J. German puts ETSU on the board. 39-yard field goal for German, and the Bucks score in Knoxville. You start wondering who's out as much as you wonder who's in. Tennessee leading ETSU 45-3. My question is the Pac-12 still in after their top dog, pun intended, lost to Auburn last week?
Man, the way they played in that game, and as good as Auburn may prove to be and earn the respect of anyone who might be a doubter, I think Washington is a really good football team. I don't think that loss in the opener cost them a shot at the college football playoff at all.
Vols get it at the 25. Coming up at 7:30, just under half an hour. Week 2 of the college football season rolls on with the Cats and the Gators, and our SEC Saturday night matchup from the Swamp. Gators have won 31 straight. SEC Network alternate channel will have Alabama State taking on number 7 Auburn at Jordan-Hare. To find the alternate channel in your area, go to secnetwork.com/channel. And both games are also streaming live on the ESPN app. Vinny Snell, the Bandit, running hard in that comeback win against Central Michigan, overcoming 4 turnovers in that game. See if Terry Wilson and or Gunnar Hoke can get it done in the Swamp tonight against Dan Mullen and the Gators as Keller Grist comes back into the game at quarterback for Tennessee.
How about Benny the Bandit in Kentucky? Eddie Gran, give him a ton of credit. You got to mold your offense around your best players. And boy, did he do that. Benny Snell in his true freshman year, he said, no, we're going to run the football. We're not going to try to go up tempo and throw it around the yard. Let's hand it to this guy.
Already the career leader in rushing touchdowns at Kentucky in just 2 seasons. Now this is 3rd. Runs with a massive chip on his shoulder. This is Banks around the left side and steps out of bounds near the 33-yard line.
How about Banks? Banks runs with cornerbacks on his shoulder. He's a guy that can upend you. Physical, runs hard. You see him, he's disappointed. He goes out of bounds. Man, he wants to be out. He wants some more contact. I want to earn some more yards. The more you see a number 33 with the ball in his hands, the more you like him.
Try the middle of the field this time, and it appears to be half a yard shy, 4th down.
That time just drifted a little bit. Pulling guard didn't do him any favors. Jerome Carvin pulling from his left guard spot. Just got a little bit wide on that pull. You got to skinny around your center and get upfield quickly. Left his ball carrier hanging that time. There's some of those details, which is something the coaching staff talked about.
Before the snap, timeout, East Tennessee State.
4:12 left in the 3rd quarter. All Vols today in the home opener in Knoxville.
Welcome back to Knoxville as Tennessee leads 45-3. There you see Trey Smith, Tennessee's best offensive lineman, taking a breather on the bench. Remember, guys, this is a guy who missed all of spring, wasn't cleared for contact drills until August 20th, so he's still getting into football shape. Back in February, he had been struggling to finish a workout, couldn't even do push-ups, so he was trying to figure out what was wrong. Well, they took him to the doctor. It turns out he had blood clots in his lungs. I asked him what he felt about the diagnosis at that point, and the word he kept using was relief. I was just glad to know that there was nothing mental in my fatigue, that there was something wrong and something we could fix. So up until August 20th, he really could hardly do any conditioning. He's now been cleared, and it's amazing. Only needs 2 aspirin a day, and he said he can go as much as he wants. There's no limitation for him, as many snaps as he wants. Now taking a breather, though, but for him, an incredible journey. His mother died 3 years ago from heart failure. So for him, just to get the relief of the news that it was blood clots and it was fixable, to him meant the world, considering what his family has been through.
So well stated there by Chris, as the punt is fielded at the 31-yard line. Is as she mentioned, his mother Dorsetta passing away 3 years ago. His sister Ashley went to school here and worked for the Lady Vol basketball team, now is in the life skills department. His father Henry, all of them have been through so much. Henry said, quote, "I just pray a little longer and a little harder before each game." And he has been given a clean bill of health, Stinch, as Chris said, and there's no doubt about his pro potential. This guy is as good as it gets in college football.
I look at him, I'm like, golly, is this guy pretty. From an offensive line standpoint, you're looking at him, he can bend, he plays with balance, he's got power, you can play him inside, but he's athletic enough to play outside at left tackle, finished the last 4 games of last season as a true freshman doing that. I'll look at offensive linemen. To me, I'll take him over just about anybody in the country. When you look at the SEC, Jonah Williams, an extremely talented offensive lineman, played as a true freshman for Alabama. Greg Little, a really heralded guy for Ole Miss, battling it out with the Salukis. Martez Ivy's another guy that can play inside and outside. Lamont Galliard, you got to show some love for the centers and the guys inside, of converted defensive linemen. But atop all of them, in my view, is Trey Smith. He's still knocking the rust off. I mean, this guy, his offseason, to say it was abbreviated is an understatement. And then to not really be able to practice with contact until 10 days left in camp, that's nothing. He's just now catching up. He's just now starting to plane out. And when he gets rocking and rolling, he's as good as you're going to find in this conference.
Well, your assessment of him means so much, given that you're being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame after a brilliant collegiate career as an All-American twice and playing in the NFL for years. But watching you watch him in warm-ups describe how he has the perfect body for a tackle was impressive. That's Austin Herink, who's come in at quarterback, completing that pass to Nate Atkins.
You know what you saw was envy. I'm looking at that guy going, man, you don't build him like that very often. And you know, to see him, his ankle flexibility, I mean, he plays with his feet in the ground all the time. He is fun to watch, and he's just now, I think, starting to round into form.
Theo Jackson banged up on the field. We'll take a timeout. All right, so the Rebels now with a 2-touchdown lead. Here it's all Rocky Top. 6 touchdowns clear of East Tennessee State. These two teams meeting for the first time ever. Bucks coming from just over 100 miles away in Johnson City to play in Neyland Stadium. Taking it on the chin so far today. Austin Herink in at quarterback on his first drive of the game. Started ETSU's first 33 games since they relaunched the program. Flag down, left-hander throws a completed pass up past the 50-yard line to Kobe Kelly. We'll see if that stands.
Holding offense number 57. It's a 10-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Center Matt Pike started every game since ETSU came back, having little conversation with Matt Austin. He's not fighting it. He knew what was happening. He's an anchor, not just the offensive front, but the entire team in this program since it returned to the football field.
Meanwhile, for Herring, it has to be a tough situation to be a fifth-year senior to make all of those starts and then lose your job in your final season to Logan Marshy and come up in mop-up duty here. Over 5,000 yards passing and 27 touchdowns for him. Straight ahead and has a first down run, taking on Nigel Warrior inside the 40-yard line. And look at his teammates go up to pick him up. 33 yards.
You don't play in as many games as Austin Herring has and had the type of success that he has. Not a tons of wins to show for it, but the role that he has played on this football team and for this program. And then, you know, I'm not going to duck out of bounds. I'm going to see if I can't pick up another 4 yards, and does. Guys leaving the bench to come celebrate their fifth-year senior quarterback.
Really the heart of the team in the last 4 seasons. The Sailors is inside the 35. Nearby Cleveland, Tennessee. I believe the Cleveland that Kenny Chesney was singing about.
Is that the one?
Anything but mine? Yeah.
Yeah, had to have been. He didn't strike me as an Indians fan.
No.
Big Browns guy. Makes more sense.
Sailors trips. And it'll be third down for ETSU as we approach the end of the third quarter. 45-minute weather delay. Just a couple of minutes into the second quarter is why we're running a little behind, but that's been par for the course, really, the first few weeks of the college football season with so many storms that are rolling in with this hot weather.
Yeah, and if you play for Tennessee, then there's no reason to play a football game inside of 3 or 4 hours when you can do it, you know, well outside of that. Just see if you can't milk it for as long as you possibly can.
Herring into traffic and incomplete.
That's a good play defensively. I mean, we've seen this in years past. That's a head-hunting opportunity. You see guys launching. Good job by the defensive backs, the secondary of Tennessee. Be smart. It's not going to be a completed pass. Even if it is, lower your target area. That was well done.
45 minutes and 45 points for the Tennessee Volunteers in Jeremy Pruitt's home opener today, and scoring in all 3 phases. We start the fourth quarter in Knoxville, Tennessee. Boy, has Big Orange Nation been waiting for a day like this. Tennessee pouring it on the ETSU Bucks. Emmett Gooden, Darren Kirkland, and the Vols defense forcing a few turnovers, including a pick 6. And now it's a 4th and 7 for Austin Herring and the Buccaneer offense. Wants to go up top for it all, incomplete. Was looking for Kobe Kelly, and it's a turnover on downs, back to Tennessee.
Yeah, Kobe Kelly was a guy that we thought we might call his name, had a catch earlier. I think only the second time he's been targeted in this game. Once again, Volunteer defense, not only have they played well, but they have created opportunities. And look, so here's the Osborne kid, Marquill Osborne, a guy that Coach Pruitt got after pretty big in the pregame. Blocked a punt, gets a score off of that, and then you see him coaching him up. You know, it's not all blowtorches down there. You got to get their attention and play with an edge, but also coach them up.
This completed ball to Juwan Jennings. First time we've said his name today.
Jennings, who threw a nice block earlier, a guy that Coach Pruitt has been pleased with how he's been reintroduced to this football team, and you see how accomplished this staff is here at Tennessee. 13 national championships represented by the members of this coaching staff. They know what excellence looks like.
This is Jordan straight ahead near midfield. Well, all that Tennessee coaching staff success, some of it came from FSU. In fact, we have coaches on both sides of the field that were on the 2013 national championship staff. You see Pruitt there over on the left. Randy Sanders, couple down from Jimbo Fisher, was the offensive coordinator on that staff. And there are a lot of people in this stadium that were in the Rose Bowl that night when they knocked off the Auburn Tigers and have rings from the last BCS champion wide open. Look at this, Jordan Murphy to the house.
Keller Chris, you haven't had a chance to unload in this game just yet. Show off your hose a little bit. And Jordan Murphy was wide open. Just get it close to him. He had time to stop and adjust, maybe get his wristbands right before he took it all the way into the end zone. Another big play for Tennessee.
Keller Chris, the transfer from Stanford, having a chance to air it out today. Jordan Murphy in the end zone, all Vols pouring it on the Buccaneers. Well, we mentioned all those people that were associated with Florida State in 2013 that are of both sides of the field today, including Jeremy Pruitt and Randy Sanders. Charles Kelly, who comes over from FSU, where he's the defensive coordinator, now coaches special teams. Well, we got to give Zach Stipe a shout out, the sports information director here at Tennessee. Took us out to a nice dinner last night. Takes care of us every time we come to K-Town.
That was great. You blew it. You ordered the grouper when you could have ordered the wolf fish.
I really did.
Whenever that's available, you order it.
Take note, Dari Noka. Studio update time with Dari. All right, so you got those games going on right now. You got the Gators and the Cats coming up. Auburn and Alabama State about to tee it up on SEC Network Alternate. And Clemson and Texas A&M are just getting started in College Station. I guess that's been going on for half an hour now. No score there.
How about that quarterback situation at Clemson? How long before Trevor Lawrence has finally handed the keys permanent-like of that Clemson offense?
He has been remarkable watching in the spring and then in August. Looked pretty good in the first game last week, albeit against Furman. Kelly Bryant took Clemson to the #1 seed last year before losing to Alabama, but you would think at some point this season Lawrence's skill set is going to is going to win out ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I think it ends up kind of eclipsing what you have in Kelly Bryant, who's steady but not stellar, and he doesn't have to be, right? They don't have to have Trevor Lawrence necessarily. And some people are trying to make arguments for the Clemson schedule. After Texas A&M, point to a challenge, right? I mean, you don't want to say they just roll their hats out on the field, but it sure does look attractive right about now as far as what they got left.
And many would say that Georgia's schedule is similar to that, and thought that today could be a landmine, but what a statement the Dogs made in Columbia.
Landmine diffused. They certainly were able to handle what they had in Columbia. But you're right, it's a good point, SEC East.
Herring running for his life on 3rd and 5. He'll just run out of bounds near the 25-yard line as Emmett Gooden escorts him to the sideline. Good pressure by DeAndre Johnson on that play.
Once again, a defense that's growing into its own. A lot of times it was mentioned over and over again by both of these coaching staffs. You know, it's a cultural shift. You want to leave your imprint on the program. And we got these guys, they need to learn how to practice. And it's not just, did you wear your pads? Is your chin strap buckled? They know how to get out to practice. It's the details. It's the focus that both these staffs are looking for out of their players.
Vols up 52-3, putting a bow on Jeremy Pruitt's first win. Well, that'll work when you have 3 50-plus yard plays in one game. Hasn't happened in 14 years. 3 of 50-plus more and 52 points on the board for the Vols today.
That's the way to pile up yards. And 2 of those were what really fueled some early scoring drives for the offense. Kind of broke things open to begin that scoring after the weather delay. Big ball downfield to Palmer. And then another to Marquez Callaway, both from Jarrett Garantano. It will take advantage of some of that downfield passing.
Keller Christ hands it to Tim Jordan, who runs near a first down. Now, Keller Christ was playing quarterback for Stanford last year against the USC Trojans. In fact, they played twice last season, once in the regular season and the Pac-12 championship game. And the man that's hiding behind the pole there,
kind of right here.
Yeah, obstructed view. That's there he is. Tyson Helton was the passing game coordinator against Christ last year, working for his brother Clay at USC.
Yeah, he's been running a counter-espionage campaign ever since Christ has gotten here on behalf of his brother. Give some insight. What's going on over there in Palo Alto?
Yeah, they have been talking a lot about that matchup that starts tonight at 8:30. This is Jeremy Banks putting hats on the Buccaneers near the 50 for 11 more.
Man, he hits the C button. Nice spin. And then, what a finish. It's funny. Jeremy Pruitt told us, he's like, look, I don't always make comparisons, but this guy reminds me of Eddie Lacy. And what did Eddie Lacy do better than just about any back? He ran physically, but he had the sickest spin move. Spin moves work because those defenders, they know they got to get low, they got to get over their toes, because here comes this big back, and then boom, spins right off the tackle. You saw right there what looks like Eddie Lacy and Jeremy Banks.
I think Brian Kelly still has nightmares about that national championship game. For more on that, let's go down to Chris.
Well, Coach Pruitt had told us that he's one of the best leaders on the team despite being a freshman, and his leadership comes, though, in different styles. It's not really a motivator. He's just very energetic on the sidelines. And Coach is right, I've watched. When he talks, people listen, and it just gathers the guys, makes them laugh at times where they really need to.
Yeah, he is a spark plug, to be sure, and comparisons already being made, as Stinch said, to Eddie Lacy. And Pruitt, of course, came from Alabama. They have a running back now named Brian Robinson, who's a big physical back that Pruitt said compares favorably to Banks as flags go down and London's down in the backfield.
These are some bad guys to be compared to. You want to start throwing around comparisons. These guys that have produced at this level. Eddie Lacy's one of them.
Holding, offense number 74. 10-yard penalty for the previous spot. Repeat, second down.
Think about it last week. Tim Jordan had 20 carries, or he had 20 carries for 118 yards in the game, and the rest of the team had 18 carries for 11 yards. Today, everyone not named Jordan has had 19 carries for 104 and 4 touchdowns. So they've used all of their backs, minus Ty Chandler,
right,
who they've kept on the bench after that concussion last week.
And who bounced back rather quickly from a concussion. He was participating in practice earlier this week. They want to be smart with Ty Chandler.
Good job by J.D. Griffin hitting the hole there.
Make sure that you finish it strong and cleanly. Incidentally, you want to finish on the field. Whenever you're able to put another team away, get some separation on the scoreboard as an offense, you want to finish the game on the football field. Grind out that clock and be able to get into victory formation. That's something that offenses offensive fronts especially, take a lot of pride in. Be tough here with third, nearly 16.
This is Princeton Fant on the ground near midfield. All right, now coming up in under a minute, we're going to go over to ESPN Plus for the duration of this game, and we will send you out to Florida and Kentucky down in Gainesville, where Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kubelik will have the call down there tonight. And of course, over on SEC Network, alternate channel, we'll have Auburn and Alabama State. So if you want to see the last 7+ minutes of this one, stick with us on ESPN Plus. Doyle with the punt. And it's muffed. And Tennessee looks like they pounced on it. They did. Abernathy's there inside the 20-yard line. MJ Woods muffing that punt, and Abernathy is Johnny on the spot. All right, we appreciate you joining us here on ESPN Plus. Chris Budden, Matt Stinchcomb, and Taylor Zarzer putting the finishing touches on this one, where Tennessee just recovered a muff punt inside the 20-yard line. Jeremy Banks, true freshman's been running hard today.
I wonder how disappointed Tom Hart, Jordan, and those guys are, because they probably had like a full 1980s hairband set up in the booth.
They've been doing a lot of that in the build-up to the game.
Yeah. Oh, I'm disappointed that turns out they did not. Figured they had like a synthesizer, maybe one of those fake drum kits.
I don't think there's any question that they pulled out all the stops.
No, there's always plenty of hairspray, so that was always on. Use that every week.
Princeton Fant has a first down. Redshirt freshman from Nashville.
Tennessee was able to obviously run away with this football game. Wasn't always pretty earlier on. Scored in all three phases, as you've mentioned. Scheduled as it lays out this season, challenging. We knew that coming into the year, especially opening versus West Virginia with a Heisman candidate at quarterback. It was going to be tough sledding.
Nothing doing for Fant this time. Here's the Vols scheduled. Have UTEP in town next Saturday on SEC Network at noon Eastern, and then a really tough 5-game stretch with the Gators coming here in 2 weeks. And then they finish in November, where they have historically been great, with the 49ers of Charlotte, the Wildcats, Mizzou, and then finishing up at Vandy. They've lost 4 of their last 6 to the Doors.
Which is just a remarkable statistic when you think about it. A painful one has to be for those in the orange. But it's that 5-game stretch in the middle of this season that, for a team that is still learning to be confident. This is a team last week where Jeremy Pruitt had to call timeout for them to go for it on 4th down when they're on the 1-yard line to get it into the end zone, because his offense is ready to come off the field. But when you look at what they've got on the back end of that UTEP game, you get Florida here. That might be a must-win game. Then you got to go on the road to Georgia. You got a bye week and come up for air a little bit there. Auburn at Auburn, Alabama back here at Neyland Stadium, and then South Carolina on the road at Columbia. Otherwise, you're talking about a really tough slate of games. There's not a tougher road to hoe, 5 straight weeks. Well, the bye week in there, than what Tennessee faces in the meat of their schedule.
And I know the idea is to win as many as possible, and I'm sure insiders would say, let's try for 8, 9, 10. Let's win the SEC East. But given where the program is right now, if they get to the postseason, that would be a really successful year for Jeremy Pruitt in 2018.
And always big for any first-year head coach to get those extra practices in for evaluation purposes.
On 4th down, Madry London, touchdown.
Another downhill inside run, pulling guard. Crease of defense right there in the A and B gaps. Be able to get a double team at the point of attack, and you get an extra blocker pulling around. That has been one of the better plays for Tennessee in this half. That's what really, I think, got the running game going after the weather delay.
$59-3 with 3:20 to go. The Vols have been perfect in the red zone.
When the sun goes down, stars come out. It's a, can you feel it? And I swear we're never, ever coming down. Never coming down.
Lots of push-ups for the Volunteers today. 59-3. Tennessee with 417 total yards. Limited the Buccaneers to just 69 passing yards. And the 59 points, by the way, is the most in a home opener in the last 9 years. Paxton Brooks has been busy on kickoffs. ETSU will get it at the 25-yard line after this timeout. All Volunteers in Knoxville today after their old friend Randy Sanders down big. $59-3 with 3:20 to go.
You know, in some ways, Randy Sanders is finding himself in a similar situation that Jeremy Pruitt did after week 1. You know, it's 1 week delayed. They had success versus Mars Hill. You got to try to coach from a defeat, and a lopsided defeat at that had a weather delay. I mean, there's some interesting parallels, and you got to find a way to not only keep your players' heads in it early in the season under new head coaching staff, but also motivated enough to improve on the mistakes that they saw out there on the game film to be able to coach from a defeat like this one.
Dontavius Monroe with his 2nd straight carry. Tackle made by Jordan Allen on the play prior to that. The redshirt sophomore from Fairfield, California, by way of the City College of San Francisco. You know, I think that's one of the more underreported things in college football is the JUCO transfer story and how hard it is to recruit those players and how in demand they are.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're talking about guys that are you're recruiting kids that are used to the quote-unquote college experience. If nothing else, you pick up a couple of years of maturity. And sometimes they're ready-made players. These are guys that just kind of needed to season a little bit on the shelf somewhere. It's not like they couldn't play. They just couldn't get in. They couldn't qualify, whatever the circumstances were. And if you can pick up a guy like that, you can plug and play pretty quickly. We've seen Kansas State has built an entire program for decades off of JUCO players, guys that you can bring in and play right away with.
If Tennessee does not allow a touchdown in the last 80 seconds, it'll be the first time holding an opponent without a touchdown in 18 games. Randy Sanders calls timeout with 1:15 to go in this one.
man? Third?
You got it, Stinch.
Oh, this?
He's been coaching him up all day.
Yeah, buddy. The new head coach for Tennessee, he wants to make sure his players can hear him. So he's not scared to get nice and close. Make sure that you can hear him, and if absolutely necessary, read his lips. But more than anything else, he wants to make sure that he's communicating to his players what it is that they're looking for. And sometimes, it's almost like a baseball manager. Guy comes running out of the dugout, he's going to chew the umpire out because he's trying to light a fire in his team a little bit. Jeremy Pruitt is really good at developing relationships that can withstand that kind of coaching.
Theo Jackson calls for a fair catch. Pruitt's been a winner everywhere he's been, even before that at Hoover High School, back on our stat man Kevin Maloney's favorite show, 2-A-Days on MTV. And then at Alabama and at Florida State, and then again at Alabama, winning national championships.
That's not a bad pedigree to draw from. Those programs, talk about excellence. But one time Alabama wasn't dominating. You win a national title with the year you spent at FSU. That's not a bad detour to take.
Great day to be a Tennessee Vol as Jeremy Pruitt gets his first victory as the head coach here at home in Knoxville. School ends a 4-game losing streak and will play the UTEP Miners next Saturday at noon Eastern time here on SEC Network. Our friends Dave Neal, DJ Shockley, and Dawn Davenport will have the call in that one. Vols score touchdowns in all 3 phases today. On offense, that man, the true freshman Jeremy Branks, had a couple of them. Had a pick 6, had a punt block for a touchdown as well. And they beat East Tennessee State and old friend Randy Sanders 59-3. For Matt Stinchcomb and Chris Budden and our entire crew led by Chris Damiani and Dan McVan, I'm Taylor Zarzer. So long from Knoxville. All Vols today.
Coach Pruitt, you get your first win as the head coach of the University of Tennessee. What's this moment feel like right now?
Well, I'm glad our players had a little bit of fight in the second half, especially coming out of the lightning delay. So there was at least some positives today. And there's lots of mistakes we still made, so we got to go back to work this next week and try to fix them.
About those positives, where'd you see the biggest improvement from last week?
Well, we blocked a punt on special teams. We did have 1 turnover. We got a few turnovers defensively, which created a short field, scored once on defense. So had 2 non-offensive touchdowns, so that helped.
You talk about this team needing some confidence. It's their first win since November 4th of last year. It's not a conference win, but what can a game like this do for this young team?
Well, I think for them, it's not about who we play. I think it's about just executing and seeing if you do things the right way, you give yourself a chance to have success. But if you don't, you don't.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Jeremy Pruitt gets his first win as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers as they pour it on ETSU today by a final of 59-3. And Stinch, they were opportunistic in every single phase.
Yeah, you saw early on, special teams, a block punt, return for a touchdown, breaking up some of the scoring, and then the lightning delay. A little bit of concern, right? Because we've seen this before. If you're a Tennessee fan, you're looking at it going, we didn't always respond that great a week ago when they had an extended delay. This team was a totally different team this week. They were able to come out of that delay and really assert themselves all game long offensively. They seem able to hit these downfield throws, the big chunk plays to set themselves up. And if it wasn't the offense with the explosive plays, it was the defense generating turnovers, setting up a short field for the offense to get in the end zone again. That was 14 points, bang, bang, out of the break. Then yet another deflected pass. This time Darren Kirkland's able to take it and do all the work on his own. Offense doesn't even have to bother taking the field. In the second half, I think Tennessee did a great job of asserting themselves in the ground game. It opened things up on the perimeter, allowed them to get those shots going, and they got the separation they needed on the scoreboard.
UTEP's coming to town next week, and the Gators are here in 2 weeks.